So, hey guys, good evening everyone. Today we are going to talk about Into DevOps with Viswas Narayan, our expert speaker, our mentor, and everything for us because Viswas is an incredible man with a multi phase personality in cloud computing and word of DevOps and whatever, machine learning, everything. What you say, he will be there for you every time. So this is the enough intro for him, I guess, because he's the perfect person to teach you about as your intro to talk you about intro to DevOps. So over to you, Viswas.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lakshit. It means a lot, brother. When you guys say me all these things, and over a course of time, we have that intuitive understanding. I can deploy this code. I can write this much amount of code. I can do this. I can do that. Like the question comes, like, how do you automate that kind of an introduction? Everybody is new to that environment. Let's say, like, I go to a company tomorrow which does completely a different cloud. Like they might be doing something on a new cloud vendor or things like that. It's always easy to adapt when you think at scale. That's why I always talk about, like, have a Toyota mindset before you enter the field of DevOps. It's not like, I'm no big of a professional here. I don't have an enough experience to say that I have faced so many production issues and things like that. But with that mindset of the Toyota production system and the things like that, you get that intuitive understanding of, like, hey, if I get hundreds and hundreds of calls at a time, and how can I really leverage my space and time into it? And like, just let's just give you an example. Okay, Azure fundamentals was not planned today. Since I knew something, I was able to do that. But if I had not known, I would have had used the documentation. I would have had given that talk. That's not a big deal. And also, there are, like, this DevOps talk was unplanned from my side as well. So there is always that one way, like, you have that resources, then how to leverage it. You have the demos and how to leverage it. So this is what is all about the DevOps. DevOps need not have to happen in an financial firm or else in a tech firm, which is always there. It can happen in fintech. It can happen in highly operation environment as well. Like one MG is from Tata, and we have an amazing community enthusiast called as Niloshima, and she is working there, and she has an amazing introduction to operations. So let me just share my screen so that you guys can get to know what is this DevOps and everything that we are talking today. And afterwards, we can have that one quick introduction for all the things that we are saying. So Azure DevOps is where I will start, but I've got many of my older slides which I can share with you guys, because one, this is for the Azure marketplace. The second one is for the this one, and the third one is for the GitHub Actions. I'll share all the three slides, so don't worry about it. Oh, it should not be in edit. I can't give you the edit access, but I think it's in a view. Yeah, perfect. It's in a view, and you guys can go check out this DevOps, a purpose for an institution. Introduction to the DevOps world. I've given you a lot of introduction to the DevOps world. So the session is there in my this one as well. So you guys can go there and check out. And you guys can check out this. This I've just done, and a, a bit of a review for the market analysis and the things like that. So you guys can check out this link. I think these links are working. Yes, all are in the sharing, so it's working. So that's fine. Lakshit, can you do as a setting in which half of the screen I'll be there and the other half of the screen will be visible? So this is the perfect setting. Thank you so much. So let me just share my screen, because it's going to be even there. I'll be even there. So that's why I just asked him. So Azure DevOps is an ultimate introduction to whatever it is. Like, it's an amazing SaaS product, and it has its own way of working out. Like, hey, in the industry, it has its own charm. So this is where Azure DevOps comes into the picture. And there are amazing developer advocates there. Like, I talk with them sometimes, I get so fascinated by the way they are pioneering that evangelism of the DevOps through Azure DevOps. That's pretty phenomenal, by the way. We'll come across with the pricing tires and everything, so don't worry about that. So about me, I'm a podcaster. This is my podcast link, so do check it out. So if you click on the link, you will be redirected to my podcast. I have done with a lot of amazing DevOps professionals. You guys can go check out what I've done with the DevOps professionals here. Like, it's 90% DevOps itself, so you guys can see that. So Now, let's just come to the definition of DevOps. DevOps is a union of people, process, and products to enable continuous delivery of value to your end users. Basically, you start with the development process, build and test process, then you start deploying, then you start operations. So when you operate it, you will always be looking forward to like, what should I test in this code? And that mindset is going to give you that intuitive understanding of like, hey, this is where we messed up and this is what we wanted to do right now. And now you've deployed everything and you want to monitor and learn from that entire deployment that you have done. So even this is not even taken consider, but you can shift it here. But according to the state of the DevOps report and everything, I can show you what is the state of the DevOps report. DevOps report 2021. So it's an amazing report which does all these kinds of fancy research from different companies, and there are different companies which come up every single day with these kind of resources and everything. So you guys can go check out. I think this is the link. Of course, in my slides I have many of the resources like this, so check out that. So sir, to start learning in DevOps, working. So yeah, it's working. And to start learning in DevOps, don't worry, it's just about like how can you
Maybe
enter the
he's
video.
asking about like if these links are just starting for DevOps and
Yeah, it's
these.
all starting for DevOps only. Don't worry about it. It's all starting for DevOps only. I too am not that advanced in my education of DevOps. Like I am just a newbie here, probably. So it's always that, I always make sure that I learn it and I deliver the talk as well. So that's what it is. So now, as I told, we all are developers, we have our own mindsets, and there is a different environment. Like cloud is the one thing, but everybody is talking about DevOps because that's the clear cut solution for us to deploy hundreds and hundreds of builds that happens at a time. Like you will be amazed by the fact that there is 11.6 or 7 seconds build happens in AWS. So it's an amazing thing. Like, it's hundreds and hundreds of builds that is happening, which is happening every single day. Like they do around 50,000 builds a day. That means that they churn out the code every single time with 11.6 seconds of latency, different regions of AWS working together. Like this is the form factor of the DevOps. Like this is what you need. It's an infinite loop of governance, security, policy, monitoring, everything considered. So, and high performance DevOps companies achieve all these kinds of metrics. This is from the state of the DevOps report itself. Dr. Nicole Forsgren, Gene Kim, Jeff Zumble, all these guys. You guys can see my other sessions. I'll refer to them as well. So they are saying that with being a DevOps enabled institution or a DevOps enabled company, you can achieve these kind of matrices: 46 times deployment frequency, faster time to the market, 7x times the lower changes failure rates, 2555 times faster lead time to the changes. That means like, hey, you need a change here, you can immediately do it and you can just deploy it over a course of time. We'll go on with the demos, we'll go on with all the different things that we are talking here, and we'll go ahead with it. So there is an increased revenue that we always talk. There is always a faster mean time to recovery. In this mean time to recovery, there is always a quicker and a better need for you to understand like, hey, I have a system which is not that vulnerable, but I want to make sure that it works fine and perfect for me. So it's always this one mean time to recovery. Like you have a production system going down, or else something like the code has been compiled in a different environment or something. Like this is always that one metrics which always come in the DevOps, which says that mean time to recovery. Like this is what they mean here. So how much is the time that you take in order to roll back to a version which was much more stable, and how do you release it faster, debugging that as well. So it's all the rollback mechanism. So 4x lower change to failure rates, like you have less amount of bugs, faster debug happens, faster time to the market, so on. So introduction to the Azure DevOps happens in such a way that you're introduced to the world of Azure DevOps in such a way that you have Azure boards, Azure pipelines, Azure repositories, which will be a personalized repository which is Git compliant, as well as Team Foundation TFVC version control, Team Foundation version control, so TFVC, Azure. So this is what I'm talking about. So it's a kind of a Git which is personalized to your entire DevOps environment, so you guys can use that. But this requires an Visual Studio subscription. So sorry for that, I didn't have my Zoom it is now working. So it requires a Visual Studio application. That means you need to have a subscription which says Visual Studio Enterprise or else anything. Like if you have an credit, you can use that. That's not a problem. So I think this is all for the basics of DevOps. I think that's the thing. So this is where we are coming back to, right? You have that sort of an repository which can come into the play. There are test plans which are coming up into the picture, and there are Azure artifacts which are there. Artifacts are nothing but the compiled code. How can you build it extensively for that sort of a language or something? Like Maven packages are there, npm packages are there, Python pip files or the wheel files will be generated. So all these are artifactories at the end of the day. They are just a compiled version of the entire code, which is just a repository. You can also build an exe file, which is actually built using all your .NET development and things like that. So this is what an artifactory is. But a test plan is something which is cooler, because a lot of times when we think of an application which is going down in an institution, let's say today I am developing in .NET and I'll be in the mindset of a .NET, but tomorrow there will be a new project which comes up by saying that, hey, there is an JavaScript project which is added onto it, and still in the backend you are supposed to use an .NET application like React with the backend .NET and things like that. So now there is a different test plans for that. But what Azure test plans does is, like, you have an leverage to use all these kinds of resources, raise the bugs, raise the epics, things like that. So bugs, epics are very simple. Bugs, epic in Azure DevOps. So it's a simple thing. So it's a capture, triage, everything. There is a different definition for it. So you guys can check out this documentation. So it will be there for you. Gautam, what's over come up? I'm adding you to the main screen. Okay, fine, that's perfect. Which was I'm gonna, and just ping me, please, like an urgency. Okay, fine, that's perfect. So I'll just share my screen. That's not a problem. So this is where you are coming up with the new artifacts. I think I can share you the tiny.cc, or else anybody can share the link. Oh, they already shared it. Good. Ah, perfect, man. Perfect. You're still there. That's all right. So now let's just go on to this entire thing, right? What is an Azure pipeline all about? So it's a cloud hosted pipeline for Linux, Windows, and Mac OS build pools. What's a pool? We'll show you how it's written. So let's just go to the portal. So state of the DevOps report, this and that. So wait, DevOps organization. I don't want to be a starter. Sorry for that. DevOps. You can go to starter, but I would say just go to the DevOps organization. There is a DevOps organization file here, so you'll get all these things. So what you go and do is just click on My DevOps organization, or else getting started with DevOps, billing management, everything will be there. But this is what I want you to go to. So My DevOps organization. So you guys will have it. So this will be coming up with all the authentication and everything sorted for you. So you can see that there is a Visual Studio subscription which is added. VSPS is there. App. It's still an app. It's required and it's signed in. And now you have this. So you guys can go create your own repositories and you can start working towards it. It's a very simple thing. So when you create a new org, click on it. So it will ask you for a sign up. You should continue, and you can go for the South India. Captcha is always there. I don't know why they gave it. So yeah, it's always there. So it's churning out some steps. Software. So it takes time. It's not anything that I own. So it's always from the Azure itself. So we need not have to worry about it. So let's just go to that. I think this also says the same thing. So Azure pipelines. Yep. So you can do that. So you can go, since now I have an organization which is not coming up. I can go to organization policies while creating the project.
Okay,
Yep.
Vishwas, one of these audience is saying talk a bit slow. Like he's getting some.
Okay. Like
The
nobody
pace
told
means
me.
that telling the concepts. A little bit slow. You
Ah,
are
okay,
going good.
okay, okay. Fine, fine, fine. That's not a problem. So I'm allowing them to go with the security policies, which is like allow the public projects to be delivered, and I've enabled it, and I've also used the GitHub users. The GitHub users is always there. So now I've enabled all the policies, right? So this is what I'm talking about. The policy is the code and the governance is the code every time when I come back here. Like, this is what we need in the industry. Like, it has to be automated, it has to be taken care. Like, Azure DevOps does all the things which is required for you. So now see that I can click on the public, and the public repository or the project can be created. So Vishwas 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So if you take till 7, this will be my GitHub handle, so you guys can go there, check out. And that's it, folks. You have this GitHub basics thing. So the different kinds of methodologies are used in different teams. CMMI, Scrum, Agile. What's a CMMI? CMMI process. So it's a CMMI process. So it's a way capability maturity model integration. So it's basically an waterfall model which was there in the good old times, which is in a different way. So you're basically having sort of a deployment. So you're now managing it, defining it, quality manage things, and you are now optimizing it. So there are different ways to do that, but for us it's not a big thing. So we'll go on with the basic itself. So we'll create a project, and that's it. What you are seeing right now is an end-to-end DevOps thing. Like, it's an end-to-end DevOps thing where you are just going and accessing all different sort of an information which is already available for the entire DevOps process. So boards are used for your Scrum, Agile, and CMMI management. Repos are used for repository management. There's an end-to-end pipeline builds which can be used as told. Test plans and artifacts are always there for you. So right now there is an overview which says that, hey, you have not created any project. So it's a public thing. You can invite as many people as you can. So you can invite to this team. So that's perfect. So this is the project that I'm doing. I invite them here. And in the boards, what you are now just getting is the same old epic issue, task, everything. So of course there are recently updated, recently completed, and recently created ones can be segregated. And there are different follow-ups that you can do, mentions, activities, and things like that. So let's just create an issue or an epic or a bug. So it will be a sort of an introduction to you. So it's Vishwas, save it. So to do, doing, done. So it's basically a Kanban board. What does a Kanban board mean to you? So it's basically a task management thing. So what you're seeing here is like some backlogs in process, peer reviews in test, done. And again, if it's backlogged, it will always be there. So this is what your normal board and a paper and a pen thing is, but this is what your digital world is all about. So we are now doing it. Now you can add links, like where to take this repository from, like things like that. Like, you have not created a branch, but let me just create a branch and things like that. So since it's not there, it will be there. But you can add links, you can add different deployments which are there. But this is also an sort of an understanding that you need to have, right? Because every time you can't write on a paper, and you can not show it to your person who is doing it, right? So issues will be the second priority. There will be epics which are first priorities, and there will be bugs which will be raised. That will also be first priority. So this is the second priority. I can follow it. I can see, okay, who is doing what. And to be very frank, you will obviously get a mail about saying that Azure DevOps builds and things like that. Let's do that. Azure DevOps build. So you guys can see that the build succeeded, build failed. Everything comes to you. Like if you will be the ultimate person who will be understanding like, hey, this is what I did to my entire code and it didn't run. It succeeded here. Why did it fail, succeed, and things like that? So you will have that entire view about like what is happening. So if you are they're on an holiday or something, you guys can go back and check out, okay, this is what my team is doing. So builds are not getting successful. And you can call your program manager or somebody and you can just go ahead with all these things. So this account is for the Azure DevOps. Okay, I can show you one more thing. It's a Circle CI also has that entire infrastructure built for that. So I can show you Circle CIR Circle CI. So failed builds are always there. So failed builds, how many have come, passed, how many have been passed. You can see that. So even Circle CA has the same thing, but not as interesting as Azure DevOps builds were. Like they don't give you that sort of an explanation to you. So they're like, okay, this happened, that happened. It's not even a code, things like that. So you can go back to this commit code, what happened in this code here, and you can test it. So this is how they are. So I just added this, I just added that. So it's always that one thing that will always come up. So repositories are very simple. You can clone that repository and start working. You can generate the credentials if they start asking. Like I'll show you how this is. I can go to. I think my sister's laptop doesn't have that, but when as soon as you start cloning it, you'll have to sometimes put this password sometimes in order to clone it onto your repository, and sometimes even if your existing repository has to be put into this repository, you can put that. So you can generate this entire credentials again, and you can start working towards it. So it's always there for you. So I can refresh it and the credentials will obviously be there for you right now. So it's very simple. I don't have to do much of a thing here. I can just go ahead and grab a repository from my local stuff. Like it's always there for me, right? This is my sister, so she has not done any work on GitHub. That's not a problem. Yep. Let's see. Let's say GitHub Actions Blazers demo. So let me just grab this repository itself. So it already has an Azure pipeline built in. Let's see whether this is already built in with an Azure pipeline. No, it's not built. It's not built. So I can import the repository and see the magic of it. You directly have a repository inside your uh, DevOps environment that you just created. This is a public build, right? So I think I even did the same thing for another project that I have. I think this is the one. Yep, this is the one. I think Vishwas 92345 has the pipelines been built. So, oh, perfect. So it's got selected, Databricks demo, job description. All right. All righty, righty. Oh, okay. There is no repository here. All right. Oh, this is the thing. Perfect. Let's see which repository did I do. I forgot that. Okay, this is the one. So let's see what was the code for that. All right, the same old things, the same old thing. So what I can do is very simple. I can copy the same code here, which does the same old build for me. So I can copy that. I can paste that GitHub build happening on this repository. I can show you how does the pipeline gets done. So it's the pipelines which we created. So wait, repositories is here. So I'm here with it. So it's the pipelines. I've not created any pipeline. I doubt it. Let's say, oh, sorry, I was in a different repository altogether. So it's Vishwa's new one. So it's pipelines. So let me just go and grab this edit pipelines. You will see the same old thing. So I can do it for the new project here. So I can do that. I can run it. I can run it whenever I want. So you can see that, right? There is an option called as an pipeline here. So you guys can go check out. You guys can go see retain this model. You can also delete this model as well. So your retention lease is something like, hey, there is a branch policy here forever it will be there. Delete all of it, and you can now start removing it. Like, let me just remove the failed ones. All right. So I think I had done it for that, but let's do this. Oh, okay, okay. Since I had already had done that, probably this is going to be retain, delete everything. So let's see how this retention policy will be there. So retain is always there, but I don't want to stop retaining this. I just want to delete this. It just gets deleted. Like, it's to me, like, I can delete hundreds of it right now. Are you sure you want to delete this 2221 thing? Yes, I want to delete it because it looks so bad for me sometimes. Like, this is somewhat which is very cool. Like, you can really log the pairs and everything. So let me just run this pipeline again. So we'll show you how this entire pipeline gets built. So it's always still the same old YAML and a JSON. So let me just show you how in here itself. So it will be much more easier. So I push something on my main, like, let me just say I push some code into the main repository, main branch in that repository, it should trigger. And resources are repos, so it's a self-hosted repository here. So the entire repository will be there in front of me. So it's not taking out any working directory or something. It's just going in for this repository which is there in my Azure DevOps. And now you can see that how I can add a different set of variables. So it's very simple how to add variables in Azure DevOps pipeline. I've tested it a lot of times there. So you guys can see that, like, there are always a defined variables, undefined variables. You can create some, you can add some. So this is what I'm talking about. So there are runtimes, variables, vars. You can define it in the simple way, and there are some amazing examples here. So you guys can check out all the things. So I'll share this link in the stream here. Just please talk a little bit slow. Okay. Oh yeah. So hi. All right. Hey folks. Oh, we'll see is here. Thank you. We'll see. Any questions, folks? I will talk a little slower. Not to worry, bro. Don't worry about that. अरे बहुत बहुत किया है ना बॉस तो इतनी. So I think it just now ran, and it's already now created an artifact for me. So I can go to click. There is always a description for me, and this will obviously be coming up for me. So it says that, hey, when you click on this pipelines, go and start editing. Oh, sorry, I didn't do that way. I can start editing it. That build number was already there. It simply just use this entire thing. So there are stages. It's saying build stages there, build the image. What next? The job is just to build. And the pool, what I told about the pool, is nothing but your entire Linux machine getting dedicated to build this entire task that I've told through the pipeline. So this is what I'm defining here. So I say use the latest Ubuntu machine in order to build it. So that's sorted for you, right? You need not have to look for what to update in the environment. What should I do? What should be the next big thing that I should be looking forward to? As you're paying it, they're looking for you. So that's what it's all about. And now it's a simple build which still use the same old tag variable, and I defined it in the same way. And the build source repository, here I'm referring to the source repository that I'm saying, and it has to refer to the Docker file. So this is what it is. So instead of writing docker build -t -d and things like that, it's now coming up to you here. So it's saying that, hey, this is the amount of builds that is happening. And if you look at all the logs that happened because of this, it still remains the same old way in which you did for an did on your local machine using the Docker hub or the Docker installed on your local system, and it does the same old way of logging. So it still creates the way in which you are doing on your entire image repository on your local machine. It's happening on a cloud system somewhere. So post checkouts, these are the methods where you just get that introduction, like, hey, there are different ways that you can enter in. So these are the versions that you are doing and utilizing in your entire project, and everything is sorted for you. So this is what it is. And the finalized jobs will always be there. If you have all the green ticks, good enough. The red ticks, just use the just use the same old command things. So you can view the raw logs in a different tab, and you can think like, hey, this is what is happening. And sometimes, the error comes out to be read because you might have not got the credentials properly or anything. So you guys can go and check out that. So it's a best thing to do here. So simple as that. Have a code repository built on your local system. That's good. What you do on your Azure pipeline is define the same old commands in a very shiny way using YAML. And this is what I'm doing here. So I think stop retaining 999, not this. I think I can start this and it will be there in one of my things. So I can run this pipeline again. So it will now still be a trigger and it's now just going for that run. So you can see that, right? It's now going for a build. It will take 1 minute and it will come back. So I can show you some more projects that I did last time. I think a new one is pipelines. It will show me the repository. Yeah. So now you can see that, right? Artifactory need not have to be just pushed to your entire thing here. So you can build an Artifactory here with a dist or anything distribution or anything, and you can see that the dist folder created this tar file, and you can utilize it for anything. So this now contains all the Artifactories that is required for you. I can open that as well. So that's not a problem. So let me just go here. I think I can unzip it, give access to, remove access to 999. Not this one. Open with File Explorer. I am not getting the File Explorer. Why is this? Okay, you can go to the 7-zip, remove all these things, so it will be there for you guys. So justify job, just try hi, hello, yes. Azure pipelines. So you guys can see that, right? I'll show you how did I build that entire pipeline on the VS Code. अरे क्या हो गए? It didn't pop up. Like it doesn't have my sister laptop is very old. Sorry for that. So she has not installed anything great. That's what I can see. So it's the same old way. So instead of defining the pool name above it, I'm just doing the below it. So I'm still doing the matrix build and everything. So I'm just installing all the required packages here. So I'm basically running this Linux command that I would have ran on my machine using this sort of an code block. This sort of a code block is just going to do the same old thing. So you can also do something called as a shell script execution here, and oh, sorry, shell script execution in Azure pipeline is here. So shell script task can be used. So instead of using shell script, wait, I can show you where is this pipeline. So instead of using this script, you can use a task, which in case shell script. You can add the path to it. Just add an path which is saying that some build.sh or something, and you can define the path here, just like the previous repository, like this you can use the path and you can still give it a path and it will start working. So these are some of the best practices that you can do, but I would say YAML hacker one. So this is one of the platform where we do a lot of bug bounty, and you can see that it's actually vulnerable. Code injection via insecure YAML.load, you can still do that. So you can see that, right? YAML might be very shiny, it might be very shiny looking thing, but anything can go wrong. But it also depends on you, like how many times have you been using it and what's the policy and the governance thing that you're putting in. So what is a policy? What I showed about whether I should do private or public thing, who should have an access, who should not have an access. Governance is something like you can use Azure Active Directory, Azure, and you can start working towards like, hey, I have a set of code which can be built like this, but I don't want everybody to access this entire infrastructure, and I don't want everybody to have that kind of an influence on my entire repository. Like somebody might delete it, somebody might not have a good take care of it. Like anybody who is a Java guy who suddenly comes into the Python, and if he starts doing something which is messy. We don't want to do that, right? So sometimes we can control that using Azure Active Directory as well. So this is where the governance and the policy comes into the picture. So I think I can show you one more Shodan. I can go to the Shodan. Shodan search engine is amazing. So Jenkins is one of the tools where you can start working on, like, hey, where can I search an entire Jenkins server, which is always there? So let me just click on it. Let me just show you how does this Jenkins come into the picture. If I know somebody's username and login, I can really get inside this entire Jenkins server, which is hosted globally somewhere down the line, but I can now access it. Like, this is not the governance and policy that you should be having in your company. Probably this is some startup which is just doing some Jenkins build or something. Like, we don't know that. So I can get an access to all the information. It's saying that, hey, it's using EC2 and it has different kinds of build. It's dynamic hosting, Amazon Data Services, and whatnot. This is what I'm saying about, like, somebody has an GitLab connected to their Jenkins server, and it's from Netherlands, and it's using Java, Ruby on Rails, and Angular. God, I get a complete information about what's there in that entire repository. So this is how you need to make your organization security working. And that's it from my side. I think let's just walk through all the code, all the slides, so that you get that understanding, like, what is this pipeline all about. So they love open source. So if you have a public repository created just like me, you can still go and get all the things up and running. And Azure boards, as I showed, you can create a lot of tasks and you can start working towards, like, how to make it more like an organized thing. You guys can go and check out all the boards and everything. We'll do an exclusive board session. We'll do an exclusive repository and pipeline session. Two parts has been planned from my side. I've been doing that for a very long time. So yes, and you can integrate with GitHub. Like, you can just go GitHub Marketplace as your pipeline. So even though I made a big mistake here, so marketplace, GitHub Marketplace, Azure pipeline. So GitHub integration with different pipelines can be added. So what you can do is edit on GitHub. You guys can just go ahead and get all these kinds of credentials inside it. So I think I can show you one of the project, which is PyTorch, which is still using GitHub pipelines. So PyTorch, GitHub. So it's PyTorch, GitHub, and see the fact that it's still using Azure pipelines. It's from the Facebook, but they are still using Azure pipelines for it. See, they have a Circle CI build. Oh, sorry for that. Circle CI builds. There is a GitHub Actions which is going on. Jenkins is going on. So sometimes you don't have to compromise things, right? So it's always there for you right now. So Jenkins, oh, of course, they will be coding in some VS Code. Of course, VS Code is added here. So perfect, right? You have an access to all the different Docker environment, how they should be built, what should happen here. So, this is what I'm talking about. So I think one more project is called as Hopscotch. Hopscotch is an company which has been done from one of my guests, Lias. Lias is an amazing person. He's the founder of it. So this is just like your, what you can say, the Postman project which we have. It's similar to that. All these kinds of API documentation, everything can be done very easily. It's very useful when you think of all these kinds of different deployments that you can do. You can do GraphQL, MQTT, Socket.io, or anything will work the fine way. So it's always there for you, right? This is what I'm talking about, DevOps. So you can just go ahead, start building the files. So I think we covered most of the things. We covered a lot about the reports, because this is what is required, right? And test plans, it's a whole new topic by its own. We can't take it anything. But artifacts are always like the Nugget package, Maven, everything can be taken care here. And of course, when you're an DevOps enabled organization, you can't be sticking up with one tool, so one technology itself. Sorry for that. So what you can do is you can migrate from Azure DevOps. to from any of the services. Like you can have an AWS, you can still use a service called as Azure Arc, and you can start working towards it. That's it for hosting all the application on your Azure DevOps. So it's very easy. If you have all the things sorted, it will be there for you. So Azure DevOps is a complete tool suite. It can do anything for you. And if you're an open source guy like me who can't build a lot of money on everything that is just given there, you guys can go use GitHub Actions, which is free for all the public repositories, and you can start building anything. So you guys can take the reference to my GitHub. I've written a lot of GitHub action codes here. So you guys can go and see my repositories. You'll just get an access to all the things. So I think that's it, folks. That's it from my side. I think this slide will be given to you right now. So you guys can go check out what is required for you, and anything can be done. So with Azure DevOps, you can enter any environment. It need not have to be Azure itself. You can enter any of the other clouds as well. So if you have a proper repository. So sometimes you might ask me, how do you create a variable? It's very simple. You can create variables as this, like in the other repository like this. You can start creating variables, or else there is a variable tab here. You can go create that. Let's say click on this new variable, let's say Vishwas. You can keep it as a secret so that nobody sees it in the build pipelines and nobody can have that compromise, and you can still refer it back like this. So what I did was I just mentioned a tag like this, and I now referred it like this. And in globally, if you create it in this way, you can just refer it in the same way as what you're doing. So it's simple. It's simple as that. You have all the organization repositories and everything taken care. So that's it from my side, folks. Will it be a full DevOps course? Sorry for that. I can't do an entire DevOps thing. I have planned some DevOps thing for a while because I am not free till Feb 15th. I think I can go to Sheets. So it's here. So this schedule I've planned, I've given it to them because I love doing everything in an very detailed fashion. But in 1 hour, I can't do much. So I think probably this entire GitHub Actions thing with an introduction to YAML and everything, it might cross around like 1.5 hours to 2 hours. We need to check on that. GitHub Actions with other services, this is an hour and an hour and a half topic, and all these are 2 hours topic minimum. So it's always there for me. So hi, so much here. So hi, Gautam. I don't know what's this Gautam working. Yeah, it's working. It's all working. Slides are working. So I think I have to call this person. So wait for it for a while. So I'll just call him. Until then, you guys can see how much of code is required for running all these things, right? You need not have to do much of a code here. Everything will be sorted for you, and everything is there in the documentation. So artifacts, Azure DevOps, you guys can see that. So it's all there is that package management which is there. So how do you do it? What do you do it? It's all there for you. And very simple, if you are taking Azure DevOps web application, so let me just say I want to do something on a Docker or a Python. So I can do a lot of things. Very simple. You need not have to do a complete end-to-end DevOps pipeline. You don't get a lot of credentials and the things like that. So just go here and type in new123. That should be my resource group name. I would say Easy Dev India demo. That also works. So runtime stack can be anything. So I will be choosing a 3.1. Because I have a repository which is using 3.1. So I'll be using creating it. And look at the fact that I didn't write even a single line of code, but I had this pipeline built. Build ASP.NET Core app, and it should go to this. This is not working, but there will be a new pipeline that I'll be using. So that will be working for sure. So create it. So it will take a time to create and everything will be there. Until then, any questions? Sings gaming. It's about useful session. Thank you so much, Velanki Koti. It's not a full DevOps course, as I told. So yes, it's not a full DevOps course. Please share the GitHub repos in the comments. So yeah, I think I shared this one. So you guys can go check out my all the repositories that I've done is all DevOps enabled only. So you can integrate the GitHub with Databricks as well. So it's there with you. So all the things that I wrote in the GitHub is always there here. So it's there here. I think from here till all the things, it's all there as an GitHub Actions only. So you guys can go check out that. I think I can share an individual one, so that's not a problem. So I can do that. So remote Spring Web Apps. And the beauty about this DevOps thing is like you can have a pull request raised, and if the build doesn't go well, you can really just remove this. You might need not have to merge it. So you guys can see the details of it, and it says that hey, the build didn't happen properly for this one. So why? I'll not merge it. So this is how it is. You need not have to do a complete merge or anything. So idle checks. If you do idle checks, you can do that. So it's all verified. So it's happening from the white source bold. It's saying that hey, this repository had this build, which had this vulnerability here. So I'm just adding it here. So that's it. You need not have to do much of an hard work, and DevOps pipeline does everything for you. So one time automation, many time builds. So this is what DevOps is. So you can go to the resources, and there's something called as deployment center here. Just click on it. You will have a deployment center. So you can see that, right? Loading the deployment settings, it's happening. So what you can do is there are different sources. There is a local Git, which happens on an hybrid server, which is like on premises. If you have some Git server, you can just use it. Bitbucket, GitHub, Azure repos, external Git, OneDrive or Dropbox, any of the code repository. So I'll choose GitHub. Since it knows that I had logged in with my server, so it's already there. So it's taking that repository. So it's now taking time to get all the repositories from my side. So let's do .NET. Blazor Actions web app demo, and I want main branch to have all the code, and I want to add a new workflow file, and I will use that. And if it's an existing thing, yes, I will add it. And let me click on the save. Look at this. It already came in as setting up the deployment. And now if I go back to this repository, where is this? If I refresh it, so now there was a new repository which was added, right? You can see that the action started running. And so you can see that this might not work. This might not work because this will start working, this will not work. So I think I can go and delete that actions also. That's not a problem. I think Easy Dev India demo, I need to delete that. So I need not have to delete that. I can delete this one. So I can delete this. Look at the fact that I just had mentioned that the triggers has to happen when I have some changes in the main branch. I just push something in the main branch, and it started getting it. So see the magic of all these kinds of builds that we are talking here. So all these builds happen when I trigger something, when I push something on a main branch. It's now happening here. So you guys can see that like you can actually code on the .NET code directly. So I let me just do this cloud pod. So this is called as a Git pod. So I just changed the .com to .dev, and I'll be now redirected to this Git pod. So you can do coding on this thing. So it's basically the same old principle vscode.dev. So when I click on this, this goes to the online repository of that VS Code, and you can attach a folder and you can start doing your web development. And here you have it online for yourself. So I can think of doing some changes here. So I let me just remove this entire thing. So I did something on a git ignore, so it created a new stuff. Let me just do a new branch and say new branch. and set as a new branch. Okay, so there's a new branches and stuff like that. So let me just do commit. So of course, unstate changes and things like create a new branch from this one. So new branch. Oh, sorry for that branch, right? So yeah, creating a branch and stage, nahi, create new branch, new or something. Like switch to that branch. It's now switching to the new branch. See that if I just do the tree, it just goes back to the older one. It still is the main branch. If I do the new, it's still in a new branch. And there was no commits which had it or something. Okay, I can just do that. So docker ignore. I can do a new code deploy. So I think there is a new change which has been added. New change. Everything is sorted. And it's committing right now. I think it's changes were being added. So I can go back to .com and I can show you that there is a compare and a new pull request. I am now preparing a new pull request. A pull request has been added. So you guys can see that the new changes branch has its own thing and it's now building it. It's now building it. So this is what I'm calling, right? You have to have an access to all these kinds of repositories that you're going to build. So as I had told, it didn't happen on that new one. So I think it's just going to take a little bit of time to build all the things. So I think this is going to be sorted. So see that, as soon as I did that, the Docker build was not there in the main new branch that I had triggered sometimes. So it's not going there in order to trigger something. Like I triggered on the new branch, right? So it's not coming and affecting anything on my old branch that I created, the main branch. So since it's always saying that there is a new branch created, just use this and use that. Oh, it takes a lot of time to build, man. So it's very simple. You guys can go check out what is happening here. So it's still building. It might take a lot of time, and over after some time you can come back to this. Where is this thing? Oh, this online thing which is there for me. And perfect, give me a, okay, give a thank you note to Vishwas when he stops sharing screen. So perfect. Give me, no problem. So this is what I'm talking, right? Azure DevOps is an open system. So let me just say what Azure is an open system. So I need to sign in. Azure Open System Data Science, Azure Open System Vishwas. I can say that. Azure Open Data System. Array man. Yes. So you guys can see that right now. Who is this guy? Sagar Biswas, feedback. Okay. Let's see. Oh, thank you, man. I thought you were bashing me or something. So yeah. That's fine. That's perfect. So thanks for that thing. All right, folks. You can see that it's just the Git, GitHub. You can enter through any of the CI/CD tools, the GitHub Actions. Still churn out the files. You can deploy to any of the application. You can still do Flutter, which is from the Google. User deployments can happen, and any of the things can be used from the APIs or the Swaggers. Swaggers are nothing but a REST API building tool. It's not a tool, it's just an software kind of a thing where you're just having the Swagger endpoints in order to do that. So Azure is very fond of Swagger in Azure. You guys can see that, right? Swaggers are ruling the market here. So they just have this kind of an very niche REST API builds that can happen. So yeah, that's it, folks, from my side. So you guys can see this entire thing. So you guys can go check out this tiny.cc link. So open system Azure. system Azure. So I can do that. Oops. So yes, open system Azure. So you guys can go check out this link. I think it should have it built by now. Like, oh, it's already deployed. Perfect. Perfect. It's already deployed. So you guys can go hit on this link. This repository will be up and running in a form factor of that URL. So it's a boilerplate .NET Blazor code. I just did some jadoo here and there. And it's just not jadoo also. It's just like I just changed some changes here and it just came in. So you guys can go check out all the things. Like this to me is an ultimate build strategy. Like free, very useful. You can use any of the things out there. You need not have to worry about what's happening with Azure Active Directory, with the Azure DevOps pipelines and things like that. So better thing, right? So it's a better thing that happened. I think perfect that we were able to do that. And I'll share all my repositories. Please wait for that. So it's Blazor apps. So that's okay. So Blazor demo app, Reactor file, remote web app. All right. So lot of repositories written. I don't know where is it. So GHCR somewhere I had written it. So if you want to actually check out what's happening with MLOps, you can think of all these things. So I just had some MLOps. Just try seeing this repository. I'm actually planning to do an CML talk because somebody asked me to do that. So it publishes to the NPM repository, Spring Actions. How much, man? Yeah, I've written a lot of repositories here. So better you just go ensure that you see all my repositories that I've written. So I think that's going to be perfect for you folks. I think that's it. This is the quickest intro that you can get for the DevOps. Anything that you have as a doubt, come back to me on LinkedIn. So my LinkedIn is which was N. So you guys can go stalk me up at any given point. So that's not a problem. So it's my LinkedIn here. So you have it. So you guys can check out my LinkedIn. And that's it. That's it from my side, folks. Thank you so much for being part of the session. It's a lot.
Thank you for speaking, Viswas. It was really a nice session. We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experience with the DevOps on Azure. We hope you can join us again. Thank you for such a wonderful
Yep.
session.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. Everybody stay safe and be happy. Learn DevOps your way, by the way. Talk about dev comment. Okay, and also please do join us on the Republic Day quiz that's happening. So over a course of time, we have ensured that we do an amazing quiz for you for the engagement so that you guys come back to us learning a lot of things. So these questions are very unique. They help you in a lot of preparation out there. So do check that out as well. So you guys can start learning very few things. And I think please do join the Discord channel that we have listed here. So it's discord.gg F capital P. Yeah, it's there for you. So you guys can go check out that Discord channel. And hope you guys learn something about DevOps. Koti, I think Koti asked me for the repository. I think I can share you that. Sorry for that. I speak a little faster in English because that has become my forte for a very long time. So sorry for that. I wait for the, I think, slow ride. Let me just, I'm not getting that guy. Kindly, Tanmay Anand. Sorry for that. It's been an accustomed thing for me to, but I'll reduce my speed for a while, and I'll ensure that it will be available for all of you. So in DevOps thing, I'll go very slow because in 1 hour I can't teach you everything, but complete DevOps session with will be for 2 hours or something. So I'll make sure that I pace down. So that's it. Thank you so much, Lakshit. We can end the broadcast.